What does the word education really mean? Its word roots come from the Latin educere, to draw or lead out of. Can you draw out the potential and gifts from yourselves and your students? In this video, I will introduce a teaching tool I call the notation, a single-page drawing designed to visually tell a science learning story in progress. To play on the word notation, and the prefix "no" is in parentheses to remind us that in science we really ever know anything for certain. In fact, scientists change their knowing as they acquire new and better evidence for their explanatory models. All notations, whether drawn by you or your students, can serve as formative assessments. Now I'm going to invite you to experience some of the many ways notations can be used both for teaching and learning in the 5E inquiry process. Depending on the function of the student notation, the components you may require to assess learning and understanding will be different. Often you will create a notation as a model for what you would like students to produce, but don't allow them to copy yours. The final design is part of the problem solving and critical thinking process. The explain notation is the visual explanatory model, or VEM, which you generate as part of the Big Idea tool. The elaborate and evaluate notations are student-generated and designed to assess the ability to apply knowledge and for you to assess understanding. In the rest of this video, I have modeled for you a narrated drawing performance for teaching the characteristics of living things, adaptation, survival, and a number of other life science standards. Open the next page, and I want you to do a spread across 2 pages, and I want you to do something like this, like I've written up here, and I want you to write the science and art of the knobbed whelk in your neatest handwriting across 2 pages of your sketchbook. I've got a pretty nice visual of this creature, which is called the knobbed whelk. First of all, before I do anything, I want to dispel the notion that this is a conch. This is a conch. All right? Conchs are vegetarians. Stick your tongues out. All right. Snails have special tongues called radulas that are covered with scraping devices. If you are a conch, all you eat is algae, and you just need something that, like little tiny bumps, like a cat's tongue. If, however, you are a whelk, you are a vicious carnivore, and your tongue is covered with teeth. Do it. All right, now, to teach dorsal-ventral surfaces, imagine that you were like this, and your tongue is going down. So put your head in a position where dorsal is up and ventral is down, and now I want you to go, All right, that's really important for you to get that. The other thing that's important is how does this thing move? Notice that I'm prepping you with kinesthetic memory, and we are mirroring. You're seeing me doing this. Is getting in your brains. I promise I'm not making this up. This is happening in all of you who have had at least one cup of coffee. All right. So, nothing in nature is by accident. All right? So this thing moves like this. All right? It moves like this for a reason. It's stirring up a whole bunch of sand. And if you were in my class, you would each have a whelk, and you would see that there's this amazing channel that points up. Now, I primed the pump. Now what I want you to do, since you don't all have whelks at your tables, which you would, is I want you to do an air drawing. In an air drawing, you take your index finger like it was a pencil, and I want you to imagine that a giant wave is coming really fast, and you don't have very much time to draw this, all right? So I want you to very quickly, in about 3 seconds, draw the whelk. Ready? All right, ready? Make the sound. Okay? Got it? Got it? Now, in your sketchbook, will you please remember what you just did? You did that just really quick drawing. You got to get it down before the shell comes. Before the wave comes. All right, watch what I do now. Get your shoulders all loose. Everybody, just have shoulders. When you take my classes, it's a lot of calisthenics and breathing. All right, so I'm all loose. It's coming. A couple of you may have trained with me and seen this exercise. All right, now you do one really quick. Do it in 5 seconds. Here comes the wave. Hurry. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about art. You just want to capture the sense of it. All right? Now, I want to take you through an exercise that's going to allow you to teach about 8 of your life science standards. And while you do the draw with me exercise, you ask questions. So, where does this creature live?
Ocean.
All right. Well, let's indicate that in the simplest way we can. Which is to just, and if you have markers, use them. If not, don't worry about it. So we've simply drawn this simple line that shows that it lives underneath the ocean. All right? How does it move? Okay, get these verbs are awesome. How does it move? Does it slide? Does it crawl? Does it swim?
It crawls and stirs.
Okay, so to speed up the time, I would have elicited all sorts of really funky verbs, and we would have explored those verbs, and then I would say, all right, what do you move with? What part of your body? Your feet. All right. Well, this dude also has a foot, but it is the funkiest looking foot you ever saw, and it looks like this. Whoa. Draw it. That is his biggest, weirdest foot, and it's all muscle. And when you do your sketch note, you only put a very few words, but I'm going to go ahead and mark this as a foot. It's called a foot because it's used for movement. And in Latin, the word for foot is podus. All right, you know what's really weird about the gastropod or excuse me, I gave it away, about the snail is, I'm so nervous because Christine's going to make me stop, is the foot is hooked to the stomach. Isn't that weird? Can you imagine if your foot was hooked to your stomach? But it is. And so that's why scientists think it is a really cool idea to name snails gastropods, because their feet are hooked to their stomachs. Crazy. All right. So we've got it moving. Which direction does it move? This way? Do you remember?
No, the other way. Show us.
It moves this way. All right. All right, so we got it. We're doing the characteristics of living things. Does it move?
Yes. Yes.
Does it breathe?
Yes.
Do you think it has to breathe?
Yes.
All right. It does breathe. As a matter of fact, it has this amazing siphon that is pointed up. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say to be continued. Christine? Christine? Do I have 3 minutes? You promise? All right, y'all want me to continue this? Okay. I just know. All right. So this is awesome because notice that it's pointed up because this thing is gooshing up all sorts of sand. And who wants to get sand in their gills? Nobody. So in comes the oxygen plus the water, and it comes in through this nice little canal, and here are the gills. And the gills under a microscope are so beautiful. They look like big pink feathers. All right, so we've got it moving, we've got it breathing, and now it has to eat. So out of the ventral surface, when it's not scared, comes this little head. Has these little teeny eyes that can only sense sun, but these things, these tentacles. Put your hands over here like this. These tentacles, now put your head down and stick your tongue out. All right. It is tasting the water. You're never too old to do this, anybody. All right? You're tasting the water with your tentacles. But remember, out of the bottom of your mouth comes this tooth-covered tongue, which is called a radula. All right? So,
What's it called?
a radula.
Can you
All
spell
right.
it? I can't see.
R-A-D-U-L-A. Sorry, radula. All right. So, what we're going to do is during lunch, when we come back for lunch, I will tell you the rest of the story because you are not going to. The sequencing of the narrated drawing is key to its effectiveness. You can see here that I've turned my final drawing into a map with numbers placed on it which represent the order in which I enacted the drawing as a narrative performance. I highly recommend that you do the same thing. This process will take some time to perfect. At first, just as I do when I create a new lesson, you'll need to likely have this visual explanatory model with you as a guide to direct your own drawing and story. This is totally fine. Just remind your students that you're actually working on your own drawing skills as well. Now, here are some tips to help you improve your own drawing performance.